Hey, y'all, this is Andrew from the Deal Finders podcast, and I hope you listened to the last podcast because that was part 1 of virtual wholesaling today. And this is going to be part 2, where we are going to finish the steps to get you virtually wholesaling today, where you can go from step 1 from the last podcast, which was finding your location, all the way down to the final step of collecting that assignment fee from the attorney or title company. So that's going to be the last half today. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side. Yo, this is just gold right here of how you can literally get started today. And now you can get to the seller. How, and this is a question that a new person is going to ask right now. Like, okay, now I've got this list of sellers and you said make a cash offer. How in the world do I know what to offer them? Like,
Yeah.
I said, are you interested in a cash offer? And they say yes. What do I say?
Yeah. So at that point, you say, great. So would you mind if I ask you a few questions about the property, right? And if they say, what type of questions? Well, questions about the condition of the property. And they'll say something like, oh, you should know, you're calling me about my property. I can't see the inside of the house online, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could you tell me a little bit about the condition of the property? They're going to go in, they're like, what do you want to know? You want to get the main big ticket items like the age of the roof, the age of the AC. You want to get, if the electrical or plumbing's been updated. Have they updated the kitchen and bathrooms in the last 5 years? Those are all really important questions to ask. And once you have enough all those, that gives you enough of an idea of the condition of the property in your mind, right? And so at that point, if you're a brand new wholesaler and you don't know formulas or anything like that, the best way to make sure you have a deal is if you can get a property under contract for 50 to 60% of the fixed up value of that property. Okay. How do you find the value? Again, PropStream is a great resource. You can go in there, find 3 houses that are similar to your property in size, right? And you want those properties to be fully fixed up, fully renovated, top to bottom, right? You'll know when you look at it because your first instinct's gonna be like, looks like a brand new house, right? So you take the average of those 3, that's the easiest way to do it, and then make the seller an offer 50 to 60% of that number, and boom, you got your cash offer.
There you go. And then if they say yes, now I don't know what to do. But so let me back up on that. So You asked them a couple of questions. One of the things that we like to do with Deal Finders in the Deal Finders Club and what we teach really is the questions about the property, like 3-bed, 2-bath, that's fine and great. But are you asking about their situation? That's what we really talk through and talk with the sellers, is more about like what's going on, like why is now the time to sell, without saying, hey, tell me about your life. But that's more important for us. Do you do that? Do you go into that?
Yeah. So we what are called the 4 pillars of motivation that we get on every single call. So the first pillar is price, right? So if the seller is asking off the cuff 80% of his estimate or less, chances are that's motivated seller right there, right? So price, timeline. So we have found the most motivated sellers want to sell within 90 days. Okay. If they're looking to sell in 6 months or a year from now, not motivated right now, right? Those won't turn into deals. So sellers who want to sell in 90 days or less, those will turn into deals typically, right? So price, timeline, motivation. So just like you said, what's their reason for selling? What's got them thinking about selling? Why are they even open to a conversation about it, right? That reason right there is the reason that that question right there is a question that you should drill down the most and spend the most time with, because the deeper that you dig, the more that you're going to find out, and the ammo that you're going to need to be able to get that deal done, right? Yeah. So usually the reason people tell you as the first thing comes to mind isn't the real reason they want to sell. So you ask a few more questions, really tell me about that, and you'll find out the real reason they're looking to sell, and that's the gold that you need. So price, timeline, motivation, and condition. So easy condition question: have you remodeled the kitchen or bath in the last 5 years? And that'll tell you pretty much the condition of the property.
I love it. And so that's where we get through to figure out kind of what's really going on. And then you said 50 to 60% of value. That's what your cash offer would be. I am new to this, and I think you are absolutely crazy. Why would anyone ever sell me their property for 50 or 60% of the fixed up value? This doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. You're full of poo-poo. You're lying on camera. I don't believe you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I used to struggle with that same thought process, right? But number one, remember two things. Number one, you aren't your seller. Okay. So it doesn't matter what you think that someone would sell for or would not sell for. It doesn't matter because you're not the type of seller that you're reaching out to, right? We're reaching out to people who are distressed, who need to sell their property right now. They've had a lot of maintenance on the property they've let go over the years. It's just kind of stacking up into this big snowball that's become so just huge for them, that this obstacle that they can't get over, and they just need to sell the house fast, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing too is these sellers, like their houses, especially the sellers that we're working with, the houses aren't in good enough condition to be able to list on the market with like a realtor, right? Because a lot of people ask, why would they just list with a realtor? They can't, a lot of these houses, because there's there's stuff all over the floor, newspaper stacked from floor to ceiling, and it's not a type of a property that realtors could have showings there and have them go over well, right? A lot of these are not safe to go into. And so these sellers, if you're a wholesaler and you're calling these sellers, you're like, hey, we can help you unload your property, for cash. You can leave it as is, where is, take what you want, leave the rest of the stuff. We got you taken care of. People work with wholesalers for two reasons: speed and convenience, and that is it. So once you understand that, it becomes really easy to understand why these sellers would sell that. But even if you take a property, let's say a property could sell for, 100% of value, right? So we're saying 50 to 60%, right? And they want to get full value for that property. They can't get that in as-is condition. They're going to have to put a ton of renovation and money into the property to be able to do that. And these sellers don't have it. So we're really a blessing when it comes to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I asked that question because that's a question we get all the time. People that want to get started in this business, and I'm stuck, and I'm just like, because we do it all the time, It's like, I get it because we've seen it, hundreds of deals that we've done. It's just not a question for that seller. That seller is not me, right? Mm-hmm. That seller is not you. The seller is not most of the people that we see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't ask you this. How many people do you have to cold call to actually get that one seller to do it?
Yeah. So what we've found is it takes 25 to 35 leads to a contract. Okay. So 25 to 35 sellers where you get the 4 pillars of motivation, 25 to 35 of those leads to a contract. And that's what we've seen consistent across the board. Now,
it's 1 out of, 30, call it 30, but how many people do you have to call to get 30 leads?
Yeah. So it really depends. So if you are sitting on like a dialer, right? Yeah. And you're calling 3 to 4 hours a day, you could probably have your first deal within, if you're calling anywhere from, I'd say around 3 hours a day, you could have your first deal within 60 days on a dialer if you're calling a big list, right? Yeah. But one of the things I recommend people do when they're first getting started is to call small lists and pick up the phone and hand dial them one by one, calling sellers, like, for example, that are in situations where their property's facing foreclosure. They don't live in their property, but they live in another state. So they got a property that has a problem, right? It's facing foreclosure. They're about to lose it. They live in another state. They can't put eyes on. That property's become a burden. These are the types of properties you can find in PropStream, right? Yep. You go in there, you find that type of property, and that seller is going to be happy to work with you. And more than likely, you could get a deal with a lot less activity. But the reason why you eventually go to like larger lists and, like I was saying, using like a dialer to do that is because you can dial through a lot of property records really fast, and you can get to the people, you can get all the unmotivated people out of the way and get to the people that are motivated.
That's it. And it's not 1 out of 30. I mean, it's probably more like 1 out of a couple thousand people that are actually in this situation that would actually take 50 to 60% of the fix-up value. So when people are thinking about getting into this or thinking about doing this business, one of the first things that we teach and coach and talk through is persistence and understanding you are going to get a lot of no's, a lot of denials, a lot of like, no, I don't want that cash. I don't care.
Yeah.
No. You are going to go through a lot of those to get to one.
Yep.
Understanding that the metrics, the key performance indicators, the things that you've been tracking, that we've been tracking for years, they pan out over a period of time of consistent action. And that's what's so important for people that are getting started. And to do this business, you've got to be ready to do it for a long game.
100%.
Call today and make 20 grand. No. Like you said, maybe 2 months worth, right? It's a job. It's work. But it is rewarding when you get to help people, and it can be, a profitable business. It can be something that you can do for your career. You can leave your 9 to 5, or you can do this on the side. So, one of the beautiful things about real estate is that opportunity. But then, even the virtual wholesaling is you can literally do this on your free time. When you're not at your 9 to 5. So we've gone through, guys. If you were listening and taking notes, we talked about how to choose your location. Start with finding buyers, which is a little bit counterintuitive. Most people are like, all right, let's go find a seller. You said find your buyers first. Then we're going to go reach out to sellers using propstreamvip.com, where we can get their info and phone number. We're going to call them, and we're just going to ask to try to get those 4 pillars, which is, do they have a price, motivation, condition, and timeline? If we can get those, we're trying to buy at 50 or 60% of fixed up value. And if they agree to that, we're going to work with getting a contract to them. And then are you going to your buyers first, or getting the contract, then going to your buyers?
Yeah. So we are getting the contract and the seller first, right? Once we got that, the contract signed, the next step is to schedule what we call a property inspector to go out to the property. And what they do is they go out to the property and they take pictures of the property. They take anywhere from 50 to 100 pictures. And that person is just a local realtor. So you just find a local realtor that you can pay 50 to 100 bucks to go out to a property, take pictures. You get those pictures back. And then from there, you can start marketing to your buyers.
There you go. Man, I'm glad I asked that question. What a key piece to this. Do you have like a list of pictures that you want people to use, or?
Yeah. So we have it's a 1-page document, and I want to say it's like 15 different shots, but basically it just walks through the basics, right? Like take a wide shot of the kitchen, right? Take a wide shot of all the rooms in the house, right? You want to take a picture of anything that looks ugly, right? Anything that looks like it's in really rough shape. You want to do that. Yeah. Take a picture of the AC unit, right? Take a picture of the roof if you can on the outside. Pictures of the exterior, all the rooms. The cool thing about realtors is they can give you a lot of local area feedback. So every one of our property inspectors that goes out, they take pictures, and what they do is they'll also give us a little written, a little brief summary of what they saw at the property, right? And this could be what's going on in the street. There's a lot of new construction on the street. They let us know, hey, this property is right up the road from this new development that's taking place. They'll say things like, hey, I think that there may be some foundation issues on this property. I saw a crack in the back of that. Stuff that you'd really want to know that could influence your offer one way or the other, right?
Oh, yeah.
And remember, we're getting these after we have the property under contract. So even if what the seller tells us is different than what we see in the pictures, we're not going in for an adjustment until we have a committed buyer.
Right. I was going to ask that question. I'm glad you hit on that. So you're not going back to the seller. If you find it could be there's actually no toilet in one of the, no floor in the bathroom, right? But you're not going to go back and tell that seller, hey, condition's a little worse, until you have a buyer, right? You're going to get the buyers in there and say what?
So we want the buyers, we want to get the buyers' feedback, right? Because it doesn't matter what we think, because we're not buying the house or doing the remodel, right? So we want to get buyers in. We want them to see the property, put eyes on it, and give us their feedback of what is going on at the property. Because we come up with a sales price, right? And we send it out to our list. We do that through email, and we also send like a text blast to our list. If you have a small buyers list, as most people do starting out, you want to pick up the phone and call every single buyer on your list. If you have a buyer list, it's like 25, 50 people, just go on the list and call them.
Yep.
But yeah, so we get them to see the property, and then they give us feedback on our price, or they tell us what they like or don't like about the property. And then from there, once we know we have solid interest on the property, then, once that buyer's locked in, then we can always go back to the seller if we want to get an adjustment to expand our fee.
Yeah, I love it. One thing I meant to mention, picture hit list. Guys, if you want that list, Chris, I'm going to ask you to send it to me.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send it to you.
we'll put it on dealfindersclub.com/resources. All right, so I'll post it up there so that, guys, if you're trying to figure out what pictures do I need, what do I send to the realtors, you can grab that picture hit list right there. So we'll put that up there on the website. So you're going to the buyers, you're getting somebody that's interested and saying, okay, I have it at 100, you want it at 70. Let me see what I can do. Is that kind of the conversation?
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. And then you get it done, and they just hand you a wad of cash, or what happens next?
Yeah. So the next point, once we get a buyer that's like, okay, I can move forward at your price, or I can move forward at this price. So we always make sure to do group showings with our buyers, because we want a lot of people to tell us like what's going on with the property, or what they like or don't like, and then what their offers are, right? So what we do there is, once we get all the offers back, we say, okay, this is the one we want to go with. So the next step is for the buyer to sign an assignment of contract, right? Sign the assignment. He has to put his deposit down within 4 hours of signing that assignment. And then if he can do that, then the property's taken off the market. Nobody else can get it. And from there, he sends that into the title company or the closing attorney, whatever type of state you live in. There's 2 different states. There's an attorney state or a title state. And basically, whoever's going to close the transaction, you give those documents to it. And then from there, you just, set a date for closing. And then once title says nobody else has any claims against this property, there's no liens against it, there's nothing that's going to prevent you guys from closing and for the buyer getting it free and clear, at that point, we can move to closing and get paid.
I love it. I love it. So virtual wholesaling, it's a thing. It's real. I know that you're doing it out there. I know you have you've taught other people how to do this. Yeah. So, which is why I wanted to really dive into your process. And guys, we literally went step 1 through, 10 on here. It was however many steps it is, but we went from, I have no idea where I'm going to do this, finding a location, to assigning a contract, which means getting a fee in the transaction, right? So there's a lot of variables, guys, that can come off of each one of these pieces. You mentioned it at the very beginning that you started with a coach from Rich Dad, Poor Dad group. Why did you do that? Why did you hire a coach in the beginning?
Really, because you don't know what you don't know. And, it was kind of intimidating to me to think about, okay, I'm going to be going into real estate. I'm already starting this new thing as it is, right? Yeah. And I want to make sure that I do everything the right way, because what you don't know can cost you. So regardless of what you think about hiring a coach, if, you talk to a coach and they tell you the investment, you're like, oh, that's a lot of money. Well, you know what? I'll tell you it's not a lot of money. It's nothing. Because what if you make a mistake that costs you twice as much, 3 times as much, 5 times as much? How motivated do you want to continue doing it, right? So anytime you're going to start something new, right, what a coach does is a coach compresses time. So that's what it does. So if you value your time, you're going to want to hire a coach. If you don't value your time, and you're like, if I got a deal in 3 years, that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. Then, hey, do it on your own, watch YouTube. Maybe you don't need a coach, right? But if you value your time and you want to get a deal within a reasonable amount of time, then hire a coach, because they can show you the path that they've already walked, right? And get you to deal quickly. They can help you overcome obstacles before you even know that you're going to have them, and get you where you want to go.
Yeah, that last point is kind of that hit it, because all the things we went through is you literally went step by step, but from your experience of how many times you've done this and how many issues can come up and variables, and well, no, it's not really this because it's that. And I know that 250 population is better than 150, right?
Yeah.
Because you've done this and you have, the experience. And so I just asked that because we hired coaches. We bought first couple of houses with no help and, made all those mistakes, and they were not the best deals. And then when we were making a transition from 9-to-5 job, me and my wife, to living off of the real estate, being able to put this back in and have our careers in real estate, we said, you know what, we need this, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what it's really like to live on a business income, to live on wholesaling or flipping or rentals. So that's where we were. And then a couple of years after that, we hired more coaches because we were in a different place, So it's all about what you actually need. And the reason we did it was to compress time and avoid the loss, right? It's like, well, if it's going to cost me X, and at least I know I've got a baseline, well, let me get to that baseline.
Yeah.
So I love that. And guys, this was literally a masterclass. You can take this and go and do virtual wholesaling. I know, Chris, you're going to have a podcast if it's not open now. I know you have a lot of other content out there. Where would people find you to find more information?
Yeah, so the best place is go to Facebook. My username on there is clogan777, and Instagram, Chris Logan REI. And I also have a YouTube channel that I just started as well. Just look for Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. It's there. But I also have a website, virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. So find me, follow me, and check out my content.
Absolutely. And we will put all that in the show notes. So virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, right? So guys, if you like this, if this was valuable to you, share it with somebody else that might be interested or might need to hear this, because the only way that we can help everybody is if you guys will share it with the people around you, okay? So our goal is to get this information out. For us and our local group, we just see so many people that understand real estate is the path for most people to get out of their grind, get out of the day-to-day, the 9 to 5, change the trajectory of their family, their legacy. They see that because it's so apparent, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know what the first step or the next step is. And so that's what this podcast is for. This is what our local Deal Finders group is all about. So dealfindersclub.com. So if you're locally, if you're in South Carolina, you should come to the live events. If not, watch, subscribe, and like the podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Chris, I'm going to let you say your final thoughts for virtual wholesaling.
Sure. Yeah. So guys, if you're on the fence about wanting to get started with virtual wholesaling, just do it, dive in, learn, hire a coach if you want to hire a coach. But at the end of the day, you got to, you have to know what's worked for other people and just walk that path. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just get started, get the direction, take massive, immediate, imperfect action. That's what it's all about. And again, I'd love to have you keep me posted on your success. So just reach out to me on one of my social media channels, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Awesome, Chris. Hey man, this has been amazing. I do have literally a whole sheet of notes for this so that we can share with this. This has been an incredible podcast. I appreciate you sharing. Again, y'all reach out to Chris if you have questions. And as always, we look forward to seeing you at dealfindersclub.com, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.